Yep, I'm gonna cut straight to the chase at this point. I'm not gonna do any intro, 1 minute intro, whatever, because I just want to get the show over with. I'm tired of wasting my time and patience on the show, and it's called talking about the Shuichi Family Children anime. So yeah, Shuichi Family Children anime. This is the anime to come out of the spring 2025 season by Dogakoba Studios, a studio that at this point should not have any introduction at this point, as they have a pretty big discography, as you can see here. The most well-known claim to fame are some pretty big shows, more specifically Oshinoko, to say the least. Um, and yeah, pretty much this is a brand new anime by Dogakobo Studios. I want to talk about it and just get over with because, man, this show was a bit of a chore to sit through out of a ton of shows I had to sit through from the spring season. And believe me, there are shows way worse than this. But before I get to like why the show's pretty bad and maybe some good qualities of the show, what is the Shuichi Family Children? What is it all about? Well, to kind of give us a summary of what the show's all about, it actually starts off in the first freaking episode. So, it's basically about a family called the Shuichi family, who essentially are played by numerous characters here, and you get to meet our colorful cast of bubbly characters, as you can see in the poster below. And it all starts off like happy-go-lucky sibling teasing kind of stuff, and then at the very end of the first episode, it decides to drop a pretty big bombshell. Well, more specifically, the father of all the Shuichi kids sitting in one room in the table decides to drop a huge bombshell that, hey, so remember how like you guys are so related and you guys are so loving? Well, turns out I'm not even your biological father, most likely, and you guys are all adopted. And that's pretty much the stage of how they set up the show. I shit you not. Like, go watch the first episode and tell me that that's not how they set it up. But essentially, that is pretty much the premise of the show, and that's where everything starts ball rolling from that point forward. Where now, the moment everyone hears that, holy shit, like we're not we're not blood related, we're not siblings, like oh my god, that means we can actually do stuff with each other, and things are not going to be the same. And it's just such a really stupid like not really a stupid concept, but it's just such a cliche, pretty mid concept that's like, man, you couldn't have done this in a way that would make it more interesting. Like you really just have to drop the bombshell like immediately upon the first episode. So that's pretty much the gist of what the show is all about. But simultaneously, you may think that this show is kind of like another one of those like, okay, it's one guy versus five other potential partners that he has to choose from. And it tries to dive into that aspect that's again similar to like the quintessential quintuplets, which I've referenced many times. But in a way, the show does kind of feel like a couple of cuckoos, which came out not that long ago, but like in the worst way possible. Where even though a couple of cuckoos was bad at its time period, it did have some like redeeming qualities that kept it hooked, that kept it interesting all the way through. And in this one, it's like it's trying to be like those two shows, but it kind of fails at being interesting. Take for example the characters. The characters of the show, give or take, like you could probably make a comparison of who each character kind of correlates to, because I shit you not, a lot of the characters in the show is straight up like ripping off quintessential quintuplets. I'll say that right here, right now. The characters, the way they are described, the way they act, are straight up one-to-one rip-offs of quintessential quintuplets to an extent. For example, if we're gonna go with some of the pretty obvious ones here, um, the the character for Koto Shiunji right here, like this character right here is a strip one-on-one ripoff of sorry my of Nakano right here. Remember Miku? Yeah, everyone fucking loves Miku. Well, here we go. Here's a downgraded version of Miku right here, ladies and gentlemen. So you have that comparison. You also have the comparison with Nakano Yotsuba, who, if you're going to compare Nakano Yotsuba in this show, it's pretty much Shuichi Manami right here, where it's basically the same characteristics, where they're both athletic, they're both super hyperactive, and they're also like concealing their feelings away of how they truly feel because they're so positive, have a good outlook in life. And and what's funny about this is that while these characters, again, those are just two examples of characters that kind of coincide with how they relate to this show. But what kind of makes the show really mid, in my opinion, and just make it so painfully boring afterwards, is how it tries to take itself way too seriously and dramatic for the sake of being dramatic. Case in point, when we go into the moment where it involves our main character, I'm sorry, Shiunji Kotono here, Shiunji Kotono goes through a bit of a phase where it's like, oh my god, like after she heard the news that we're not blood related, that I finally get the chance to be with Oni-san, with my main guy. And who's the main guy that we're all focused on? Well, look no further than Arata Shiunji, who essentially, yes, is definitely a tougher, bulker version of our main character here with Futuro Usugi, but like yeah, Shuichi Arata is kind of like the yeah, I'm the self-reserved and well-rounded person. I make sure I take care of my family because family fucking matters. And it kind of gives off that vibe of Vin Diesel from the Fast and Furious franchise throughout all these shows. Or sorry, throughout all the episodes. Again, I'm losing my fucking mind right now because again, I straight up do not fucking care. I don't even give a shit about the show. I just want to talk about like all the problems that's wrong with it. But going back to Kotono Shunchi and the whole Arata situation, like basically there's like a point in the early episodes where Kotono reveals that she actually likes our main character here, and she'll do anything to make sure that she is one step closer to being with him, whether it's taking a shower with him or just straight up interacting with him in the most simplistic fucking way possible that just feels a bit overreactive. Like she does everything she can to be with him. There's also the case of There's also the case of Oka Shiunji, who, in my opinion, out of all the characters that we've seen in this show, she's basically the second main character of the show that the anime really heavily focuses on. And it's voiced by a really great, well-known voice actor with Takahashi Rei, as you can see here. So, again, I have no doubt that, again, the voice acting in the show is incredible, and they really give off their best performance ever. But again, the thing that turns me off about Oka Shuichi's character is that she gives off these subtle and obvious hints that she likes our main character here, and in a way where it's like, okay, are they going to kiss? Are they going to embrace? Are they going to, do stuff, right? And the show just keeps on teasing you constantly of that fact that, like, oh yeah, these characters are going to be together and they're going to do stuff. And I guess while we're at it, I'm going to dive into the rest of the characters of the show that play a part in the show. So we know about these two. You have Seiha, who essentially is just a background character. She honestly just has like more than like 10, 20 lines throughout all 12 episodes of the show, and that's it. She really is just a background character and doesn't progress anything into the show whatsoever. Except for one episode, but that one episode was just for the sake of making sure that Kotono was safe and sound, I guess. There's also Bari Shuichi, who is like the mother figure of all the siblings, who, case in point, is straight up a one-to-one comparison to Ichika Nakano, who is kind of similar into that vein. You know what I'm saying? But again, Bari Shunichi literally like she has like an episode or two dedicated to her. It's like, oh my god, like I'm so innocent, I'm so lovely and bubbly. Like, oh, I'm doing this to tease him and make sure that he too falls for me in the weirdest way possible. Like, it's pretty obvious what you're trying to be, but it just fails in that front as well. We already talked about Kotono, already talked about Minami Shiuchi, but Minami Shiuchi just has a little bit of an arc in that in this show as well, where it involves like her in the tennis tournament and such. And I will say, in I believe in midway through the show, the arc with regarding Minami and Arata and the gang helping her and making sure that she successfully is good at tennis. I really think that was like a really strong, impactful moment that really did catch my eye. And at one point, there was actually like a really good sports animation sequence regarding tennis playing, and I thought it was like really cool, really like damn, this is like really strong quality from Doga Studios as always, because we know what Doga Studios is capable of. And yeah, I would say out of all the characters in the show, Minami would have to be my favorite simply because like they were able to portray her and her story pretty well and not just like bullshit us for the sake of bullshitting us. They give us like a really good authentic scene that really made you care about the character. And then finally we have Shion, who is unironically another person in this show that's like the siblings, but you wouldn't even know that this guy existed because he's also literally in the fucking background doing absolutely nothing. Except for like the far moments of the episode where it's like, oh yeah, I just met my biological parents. What do you fucking do? Like that okay, bro. That's great, I guess. And that's the whole theme of this whole thing is that after all the characters get to realize and find out that, oh my god, we're not blood related, we're not biologically related whatsoever, they go through this fucking tangent just trying to figure out like what it means to be family. Some of them trying to find their real parents or just trying to connect with each other in a different way than just siblings. So yeah, I know I'm gonna stop here because again, there's so much more I want to talk about that's like bad, but the more I talk about it, it just goes on and on and on. Look, to sum it up in a nutshell, the animation is really good. It is crisp and clean as always, like Doga Koba Studios' stamp of approval. The music for the show is pretty lighthearted. It's pretty felt. I just do not give a shit about the drama of the show. The drama is just such a turnoff, given that like there are better shows that kind of tackle this vein way better. Again, way better. And this show sadly just falls into the mid tier category of like it's good, it's fine, but like I truly just do not care about it. Like from the moment we get into certain characters, I simply do not care about it. The only character I care about on this show is really Minami, and that's it. So yeah, unfortunately, this show I was left with a pretty mixed bag. There are some strong qualities about it that I do like, but then there's qualities about it that I just don't like at all. So yeah, I'm just gonna cut through the chase and just give this thing. I'm gonna give this thing like a strong four to maybe a light five. It's again, it's not bad, but it just isn't good enough to like where I'm hooked and I'm really want to see more of this show. Like honestly, I couldn't care less about the show because there's so many plot holes, so many empty moments of like trying to get to know the characters left and right that like it becomes a fucking chore to sit through. Because again, I don't want to dive deep into this because again, we have shows already that have done this way better, way more successful at this point. Why would I bother talking about what this show should improve on? It's right there in the books. But yeah, just want to talk about the Shiunji family children, and that's about it. I'll see you on the next one later.